From the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel, this is a Tropical Weather Update.
Fred Gossett here in the Tennessee Valley Weather Center live at 5 on this Wednesday afternoon with a special weather update concerning Hurricane Francine in the Gulf of Mexico and its local impacts here in the Tennessee Valley. Instead of a regular weathercast like we often do at 5 o'clock in the evenings, this will focus primarily on Francine and the local impact here. However, at the end, we will show the 7-day forecast and talk about the extended details that you can expect through the weekend into early next week. We'll get started with graphics here, and this is a breakdown, a summary of the local impacts here in the Tennessee Valley that we expect from Hurricane Francine, starting as early as daybreak tomorrow on Thursday and lasting into Friday. There are multiple threats that we will have here locally from the remnants of Francine as they move north into the southeast. Flooding, one of the primary threats, heavy rain, a general expectation of 2 to 4 inches of rainfall across the area. Overall, with a heavy band of 3 to 5 inches of rain across parts of northwest Alabama, southern middle Tennessee, with isolated heavier totals possible in both of those regimes. We'll show the mapping for that here as we go deeper into the forecast. Also, wind gusts starting as early as sunrise on our Thursday morning, lasting through Thursday night, into the first half of Friday, that could be into the 30 to 45 mile per hour range. Now, that's not going to cause a lot of power outages. You see, we're only talking about a small threat of isolated short-lived power outages being possible, but that is enough to cause some headache if you're driving out on the roadways in the wind and the rain, and also that could knock down a few tree limbs and some smaller weakened trees because of the drought and other conditions. We'll also be watching for a few spin-up type tornadoes starting as early as the mid-afternoon Thursday, lasting through the overnight, tomorrow night, Thursday night, all the way into about midday or early afternoon on our Friday. There will be a long duration time window when you'll have to be on the listen out for a few possible tornado warnings. And then again, not a big power outage situation in our local area, but a few short-lived type duration power outages are certainly possible if tree limbs come down on the power lines. Right now, here's live Viper radar, nothing going on in the local area. We're in the mid to upper 80s to lower 90s across the area this afternoon, as the clouds didn't thicken up quite as much as what was initially expected for the first half of the day. A lot of that overnight cloud cover from last night actually got blown off to the east of us from the strong upper level winds that are helping to provide wind shear to Francine as it makes landfall this afternoon. But the clouds are thickening now, as we'll show here with the regional satellite and radar composite. You can see the thicker clouds now moving into the Tennessee Valley part of North Alabama and about to spread into southern middle Tennessee. And then the rain is starting to spread northward as well through the southern half of Mississippi and southern Alabama. That will be arriving as we head later into the overnight and before sunrise on our Thursday morning. And once the rain starts to pick up, the gusty winds will as well. Here's a look at the high-resolution satellite this afternoon with Hurricane Francine still tracking off to the northeast and has been tracking a little east of the National Hurricane Center track today. It looks like the core circulation here may be headed toward the New Orleans metro area, and that may mean that the core circulation tracks up east of I-55 in Mississippi as we go through Thursday and Friday. That may increase the flooding threat, increase the damaging wind threat, and possibly decrease the tornado threat a little locally, but we'll monitor that as we head through the next 24 hours here. You see an eye-like feature starting to pop up in the satellite this afternoon, but there's been a lot of wind shear over the system, and it's been battling dry air the past couple of days here, so it hasn't been able to rapidly intensify, even though it has made it to Category 2 status as it's approached landfall this afternoon. This is the 4 p.m. Central Time Advisory. Maximum sustained winds are now up to 100 miles per hour. Pressure down to 972 millibars, moving northeast still at 17 miles per hour. Here's the latest track carrying that up through central Mississippi, but I do question if it may try to hug the eastern half of that cone up in the central or east central Mississippi as it moves northward, and then becomes a remnant low as we head Thursday night into Friday and Saturday. You notice it doesn't move a whole lot as we get into the weekend. It does get absorbed into an upper low and lose tropical characteristics, but that upper low will meander over us over the weekend, and we'll still have the moisture to work with, so we're still going to have rain chances on through Saturday, Sunday, even into Monday. Here's the timeline with the high-resolution Futurecast. Starting this evening, you see the cloud cover moving northward through North Alabama into southern Middle Tennessee. We head on through the overnight. Rain starts to overspread the area later into the overnight, and by daybreak here on our Thursday morning, moderate rainfall. A steady rain is as far north as the Highway 412 corridor of southern Middle Tennessee. We head on through the morning hours, and it continues to get heavier from south to north. And then by midday here, the heaviest steady rain is mainly situated in the southern Middle Tennessee, if this is correct. And then as drier air aloft works in the mid-levels, we start to see things become more scattered over North Alabama. But the situation's not over as we head into the afternoon. Getting a few breaks in here, and especially if there's a sunbreak or two, helps destabilize the atmosphere. And then as we head into the afternoon hours, especially mid to late afternoon, that steady rain lifts northward, and if we do see a sunbreak or two, that destabilizes the atmosphere so that we start to see these feeder bands of scattered cellular storms developing over northwest Alabama into southern Middle Tennessee. If this is correct, by 3 or 4 o'clock, this is when we start to watch out for a tornado threat developing over northwest Alabama, northeast Mississippi, into southern Middle Tennessee. And then that isolated tornado threat continues on into the overnight hours of our Thursday night. It will not go away as we lose daytime heating. It's going to be one of those situations where it carries on into the overnight, and then it carries over into Friday morning. And the latest model data has actually been trending slower with the eastern movement of that feeder band. So it's going to last a little longer in the Friday morning than what the data from earlier this morning was suggesting. By 6 a.m., those heavy thunderstorms that may still have a spin-up tornado threat are still as far west as Columbia, Lawrenceburg, Waynesboro, the Shoals down to Russellville, and that band slowly shifts eastward until about midday, and it takes until 12, 1, or 2 o'clock Friday afternoon before those thunderstorms finally shift off to the east of our area. As we get into Friday evening, you see a few more heavy downpours developing, but notice that the winds are out of the southwest at the surface by that time. That means that the tornado threat will have gone away because we'll no longer have the wind shears. So by midday Friday, I'll say between noon and 2 p.m., the tornado threat in our viewing area Friday will be over, even though heavy downpours and a few rumbles of thunder continue on through Friday night and the weekend. Now we'll start to get into the specific impacts here. These are the forecast rainfall totals through Friday evening. There will be additional rain over the weekend that may be as much as a half an inch to an inch. But through Friday evening, we expect this corridor where we have heavy feeder bands to set up over southern Middle Tennessee in the parts of North Alabama where 3 to 5 inches of rainfall are likely, and there could definitely be some heavier totals in here, more than what is shown. Now, down south of the Tennessee River, closer to I-65, there's higher confidence and heavier totals. So we've drawn a 4 to 6 inch total area from near Decatur and Moulton and Hartselle southward through central Alabama. And there are some model indications that could be 8 inches or more down there from about the Tennessee River southward into the Birmingham Metro on the I-65 corridor. West of Highway 43 in North Alabama, back up to about Savannah, 2 to 4 inches. But even here, there could be some heavier totals than that in the isolated heavier feeder bands. And with all that said, that means there will be the potential for flooding and flash flooding. Now, the river levels and the stream levels are really low, so they can take this runoff. The river flooding threat, the stream flooding threat's going to be on the lower side. However, the drought, you would think it would help absorb all this moisture into the ground, but it's actually made the soil in the ground hard so that it increases the potential for runoff, and that may increase the potential for street flooding type flash flooding, and then poor drainage areas in low-lying regions may have an elevated flash flooding threat as well. And that may be exacerbated on into the weekend with off and on showers and thunderstorms. In addition, gradient winds from the pressure gradient with the low pressure will be a situation Thursday night into about midday Friday as well. In the purple area here, generally from Highway 24 in North Alabama, from Russellville to Moulton to Decatur to Hartselle, it's kind of a give or take there. Southward, wind gust in an extended period, 35 to 45 miles per hour, and an isolated gust as high as 50 can't be ruled out. Northward through Athens, the Shoals metro area, up as far north as Highway 64 in southern Middle Tennessee, from Savannah to Waynesboro to Lawrenceburg to Pulaski, southward through the Shoals to about Decatur, 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gust off and on through Thursday night, through the first half of Friday. Isolated gusts here and there could be as high as 45. And then north of Highway 64 in Middle Tennessee, 25 to 35 mile per hour wind gust. One or two isolated 40 mile per hour wind gusts can't be ruled out. And like we've been talking about, there's also the potential for a few spin-up tornadoes. This is a lower end type threat. It's not a tornado outbreak, anything like that. These will be fast-moving, smaller type spin-up tornadoes, EF0, EF1. Can't completely rule out something stronger than that, but that'll be a very, very low chance. The one thing you need to know is they will not be coming from the west and the southwest like they do in the spring and the fall and the winter when we have a cold front moving through. They will be rotating around the outer circulation of Francine. That means if we have tornadoes tomorrow, they're not going to come from the west of you. They're going to come from the south or the southeast and move to the north. So you're going to have to pay attention to counties upstream from you tomorrow that you don't usually pay attention to. For instance, if you live in Lawrenceburg, you're not watching out for Wayne and Hardin counties tomorrow. You're watching out for Limestone County, Morgan County, Lawrence County, Alabama, Eastern Lauderdale County. They're going to be moving this way on the map, not this way. Tornado threat starts as early as 3 or 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, goes through the overnight tomorrow night, and then extends through the first half of Friday, especially along and east of Highway 43 in southern Middle Tennessee and northwest Alabama. By noon to 2 p.m. on Friday, we'll finally get this tornado threat onto the east of the area and out of our coverage region. So the hour-by-hour breakdown here for you Thursday. Rain and thunderstorms likely, more steady during the morning, and then those off and on feeder bands tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, into the first half of Friday. Flooding rains, high wind gusts, and the potential for spin-up tornadoes all involved. Tornado threat continues through the first half of Friday before it moves off to the east and diminishes. Showers and a few rumbles of thunder Saturday as well, but not expecting a severe storm threat. Isolated showers all the way through Sunday and Monday before we finally dry out toward the middle of next week. There's your latest 7-day forecast. I'll be back at 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock with another check of your local weather.
You're watching the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel.